This is UMass basketball.
I know this. I'm the most animated coach that you've probably ever seen in my team.
Thompson in the front court. Thompson will lay it in. And one.
Hey, he's just being Frank.
That is right. It's time for another edition of Just Being Frank, coming at you from the Champion Center here in Amherst. I'm Jay Burnham, alongside head coach of the UMass men's basketball program, Frank Martin. Coach, good to see you. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little glad we're doing this today and not yesterday. I was a little beat up from the road yesterday. When you're in your 30s and even in your early 40s, going on the road to recruit, like from multiple. I love going in people's homes and selling who we are. And the more I get to know about UMass, the more I like. So the easier it is to, when you're selling what you really enjoy, it's easy. When you're trying to sell and you don't really like where you're at, it's hard.
Yeah.
But the more I learn about Western Massachusetts, living here, this university, the people I work with, the easier it is to sell because I like it so much. And but when you just go do a home visit and do that, that's awesome. When you got a body that you beat up for a long time when you were young, and now you're I'm 57. Let's face it, I'm on the other side of 50. So it's I'm not gonna say it's a downhill ride from 50 on, but it's different.
Yeah.
And you're in a car for 4 hours, and then sitting on bleachers for 6 hours, and then sleeping in a different hotel room every night. It takes a toll on you.
Well, we talked with Jeff Goodman last week about going to the Peach Jam, which was on your schedule last week. So why don't you take us through that journey of where you were traveling down south and what you're looking to get out of those. For those that don't know, the Peach Jam is one of the premier events for rising juniors and seniors in the world of basketball. What are you looking to get out of those, and what was that like for you?
You okay if I give you a little background with me in the Peach Jam?
I would love if you did.
Okay. Back in 1995, I'm coaching high school basketball. And George Raveling, who at the time was running grassroots basketball for Nike, had hired me to work the Nike All-America camp at IUPUI in Indianapolis. And so while me and a couple other guys were working the event, he approaches us and says, "Hey, Nike's starting this new event down in Augusta, Georgia called the Peach Jam. We need some guys to help us. It's, it's just a brand new deal. We're dipping our toes into this world of summer basketball. And would you be interested?" When you're making $32,000 as a school teacher, and I like to repeat this because there's too many young people in coaching that like to. They all want my salary now, but they're not willing to work for the salary I made for 16 years coaching in high school. The most I ever made, this was back then in the late 90s, was $2,460. That's the most I ever made for coaching. And you don't have a summer job because summer school just wasn't available. They had made all kinds of cutbacks in the public school system. So only certain students, people that needed graduation or remedial, were allowed in summer school. It wasn't open to anybody, so then they only need X number of teachers. So I used to work as many summer camps as I possibly could. And so if somebody offers me a plane ticket and $300 to
sign me up,
wipe the floor, whatever, I was in. So I said, absolutely. And so Nike flew me from Indianapolis to Augusta, Georgia, put me up in a hotel, fed me, which if you're going to feed me, that's probably the most expensive part of the whole commitment. And then, I stood in this facility and all I did was hand out coaching books, and we had 12 teams and no one knew what the heck we were doing. Well, hit the fast forward button, and that was a standalone event at the time. Hit the fast forward button to 2023, and I'm walking into that same facility. That facility now, they've grown it. They've added courts to it. The reason being to accommodate the Peach Jam. Obviously, living down in that area for the last 10 years, there's all kinds of events that go on all year for kids and all that. It's a community rec center that services everyone in that community. But the reason for the massive expansion was to continue to host the Peach Jam. And they've made it now. Nike started this, and then the other shoe companies have followed, and now even the Hoop Group has followed. They've created a league, and they play events during the course of the spring and early part of the summer. And based on winning, you get to go to their finals. And a lot of credit to the people that continued to push that dream and put it together. And you know, the Nike's done an incredible job with the EYBL, with sponsoring the right people, right teams. All the shoe companies have, but Nike's been doing it longer. So it's like everything else. When you've been doing something longer, and you've had success, your product's going to be better than the others. It is what it is. But incredible environments. I mean, talk about, you know, it's done the right way. They hire the officials that are in charge of our basketball leagues, whether it's the A-10, the Big East, the ACC, the SEC, to oversee younger officials that want to come into our leagues. So there's a professionalism with every component of the product that's shown. The coaches, you can't wear ball caps. You can't be in shorts. Can't have an earpiece in your ear. You know, you got to wear pants. You got to have a collared shirt on. Everything about it is it's the way it should be. And you know, it's a great event to cover. You get a true evaluation of everything because every game's packed.
Yeah.
You know, for that, how players handle that moment.
Let me ask you this, and I'll stand corrected. I think I said earlier about the age. There's 3 different age groups, correct, that they have, under 17, 16, and 15. You have been there since the start of the Peach Jam.
Yep.
In that span, who was the most dominant players that you saw, if you can recall?
Wow.
Was there a guy you're just like, this guy's going to be a superstar?
Zach Randolph was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, Zach Randolph could really play, you know, and he was mean as a rattlesnake, and it wasn't all for show. It was real. You know, we talk about Haslam all the time because he played for me in high school. Well, Haslam was playing I wasn't coaching an AAU team in South Florida that year. And this guy so Udonis ended up playing with a team out of California because back then there were no rules. So Udonis was at Nike camp when I was there, and one of the guys working the camp had an AAU team, and he asked me, he said, from California, he and I are friends. He said, Frank, is Udonis playing with somebody? I said, no. He says, well, I'm taking my team to Peach Jam next week. You think he can play with us? I said, sure. Well, Udonis played with them, and you know, I'm working the event. He don't know those guys. So they weren't passing him the ball. So he was frustrated. It's really hard. So he comes over to me and you know, and he says, I'm working the event, and Coach Frank, I'm frustrated, man. I want to go home. I said, why? He said, they don't pass me the ball and we're not winning. I said, well, then go rebound it and help your team win, and walked away from him. And he was so frustrated. He was like, this guy here never wants to listen to anything I got to say. But I mean, Zach Randolph was really good. God, you put me on the spot. Kevin Durant.
No,
I mean, heck, I mean, you know.
Well, let me change course here then, because you just said something that I found interesting, because this is a collection of players that want to play at the highest level, college basketball, the NBA.
Yep.
And you feel like there is a selfish nature in watching some of these kids, because they have to be to showcase their talents to all those who are watching. So how do you balance as an evaluator, watching, maybe one kid try to do too much, or one kid not get involved in the offense because of what you just said with Haslam? That has to be a difficult piece of the evaluation process in terms of seeing like how guys will actually play in a game that would matter at the college level.
Yeah, I mean, and remember now, I worked that event in the late '90s, and then I got into college basketball in the summer of 2000. The summer of '98, '9, and 2000, I believe. 2000, I didn't do it because I was getting ready to take a job at Northeastern. So it was '98, '99. I actually coached teams at the Peach Jam. And the 1 year we lost in the semifinals, lost to at the time they were called Riverside Church. Now they're the Riverside Hawks, one of the prestigious AAU programs in the history of summer basketball, Riverside Church, and unbelievable game. But I share that with you because then I go to Northeastern, and I wasn't recruiting guys at Northeastern that were playing in the Peach Jam. So then I didn't get to go. Then I go to Cincinnati, and I was recruiting guys that were playing at the Peach Jam because it's such an exclusive event. And then if I am recruiting, like whether it was a Cincinnati, K-State, or even to a certain extent, not sure to say certain extent, and definitely in my time in South Carolina, you end up recruiting certain players. So, the assistants do all the legwork. And then in the summer, I become, they fly me from city to city to city to city so I can watch all the different guys that we're actively recruiting so I can come back in the office and give them my opinion, right? Still who I like. And then they got to give me feedback because the guy I might like on the court, they might know that guy doesn't fit who we are. So then they got to I don't say convince me, but share information with me as to like, Frank, I know you like him, but these are the things he's about. This is how he handles things, so he might not be a good fit here. And 98, 9% of the time, I tend to follow their lead on that. There's some times that I overrule, and we end up going on a guy that maybe they don't think fits us, but I have information that makes me be comfortable. But I share that with you because I don't get to sit there and just watch. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say certain teams. I just said that one team because we played against them back in 1998 or 9, whatever year it was. But, I got dear friends from my time on that side of the fence that are still coaching their programs. I'll go a whole spring and a whole summer, and I don't get to see their teams play because I'm not coaching anyone, not recruiting anyone on their team. For example, this year I spent one day at EYBL, but I was there for one person. So I only watched that, for the most part of the 17s, that one kid play. Every time he was playing, I was at his games. If he wasn't playing, I was watching young guys. But it's complicated. I wish I can go as a fan one day and just sit.
Yeah. Seems like a lot of fun.
Just sit in the morning session in gym 1, afternoon session, gym 2, and go from there so I see as many guys as I can.
Well, you said when we started this that you really enjoy getting into people's homes. And I bet that's probably a two-way street where you get to learn a lot about a person and their family, and they get to learn a lot about you. Does that, I'm oblivious to this, does that still exist in the world of the transfer portal where, that might not be the case? Are those home visits still a high-ranking priority for coaches?
Yeah, when recruiting high school guys, if the last person I meet are the parents, I probably won't go in that direction in recruiting. I'm still.
So you're saying you want to meet the parents first?
I was a high school coach.
Yeah.
I was an AAU coach. There were 2 or 3 kids that I had to be their parent because there's nobody at home. I get that. I understand that. But even when I wore those hats, I made sure that the universities that were really, really involved in this young person's recruitment, that they got to meet the mom or the dad or the uncle, whoever the adult. It was important to me. Ever since I've been in college, that's something that sticks with me. I'm a relationship guy. I'm into developing people. Jay, I say this all the time. I've been saying it for 16 years. I don't judge other people on how they do their jobs and how they go about the business. My job is to help young people become better men and better members of society. And I say men because I coach young men. That's what allows me to sleep at night. There's 30 nights a year, whether we win or lose, I don't sleep very well. Winning doesn't let me sleep. Because your job is always about reflecting on that game so you can do your job better and manage the dynamics of your team that you have to manage better the following day because you're trying to grow. If it's just about the score, I wouldn't care. I'd go to sleep, wake up the next day, let's try this again. You're trying to grow. And when you're trying to grow people, it's a never-ending challenge. And I shouldn't say I got that bad habit. I did that in a speaking deal years ago, and this friend of mine got up and said, "Hey, that's 103 you knows." And I was like so embarrassed. I wanted to knock him out, but I want to know what that young person is about at home.
Right.
I don't judge people based on the appearance of their home. I say this all the time. I've been in some homes that when I pulled up, I was like, woo! Like, I can't believe the size of this house and the bells and whistles. And you go inside the house and there's a tension where nobody gets along. And I've been into some homes that are very, low socioeconomic folks, which difficult times. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the parking lot. But when you walk in that house, there's
a home,
unbelievable discipline and love. And so I want to feel that. I'm an open book. All you got to do is Google me. You're going to know who I am. And if you don't know, ask me. I'm going to tell you who I am. And I don't deviate from the truth. And so I want to know the people that I'm going to bring into the program. I want to know what they're about. And I don't do it to judge. I do it to learn. I do it to grow because I want to be better.
Well, this is probably something I'll ask you in a couple different ways over the course of the year. But I read a few articles last 10 days or so about, the freshmen of college basketball and how that's sort of a disappearing status because a lot of the Power 5 schools are grabbing transfers. And so, some of these events like the Peach Jam, there's maybe not as many kids that are going to go high-level D1 as there used to be because of all the transfer portal stuff. So your belief in recruiting young players, freshmen, has held true even to this team you've put together today. Why?
Because I believe in relationships. This is not a transaction for me. If I cared about my career record, I'd be tweeting out like my career record in high school, which by the way was pretty darn good. Just for
We'll have to fact check that.
Yeah, just for the sake of argument, go ahead and fact check it. It was, when you're on a bench where in 16 years you compete for a state championship 11 times, your career record is going to be pretty good. So, here's something I just read yesterday, and this comes, I believe it was the NCAA put this out. Don't believe everything, all the social media garbage about transfer. There's some coaches that made a decision. I'm only recruiting transfers. More power to them. I ain't mad at them. This is brand new. Hey, none of us managed this world before. I just still believe in people. I still believe in relationships. If I wanted to be transactional about the way I go about the business, I'd probably go coach in the G League and see if I can do something professionally going into the twilight of my career here.
Right.
But that doesn't tickle me. I enjoy watching young people become better adults. Having a small little part of their growth and their journey to find success. I enjoy being a part of that. I don't care about being judged 20 years from now based on the final score of games. That it's a lot more powerful to me to have a former player call me and say, "Hey, I'm getting ready to enter into this business venture. What do you think about this?" or whatever, than it is for somebody to write a story about me saying that, Frank Martin's career record in the postseason is whatever it is, 13-5. I got no idea what it is, whatever. It's 44%. If school year started today, 44% of every person that entered the transfer portal is going to be left out of college basketball. So if we're just taking transfers, that means we're kind of, you know how they like to say about us coaches, that we're just taking the retread. You know, we're just kind of circling around job to job to job. Well, if we're only taking transfers, that means players are just circling from school to school to school. Well, if 44% of them get pushed out, somebody's filling those scholarships, you know, and I think there's a lot of guys like me that still believe in the freshman model and still believe in people. Is there a place for transfers? Of course. I made my career. Everyone gives me credit at K-State because of Michael Beasley and Bill. Now his proper name is Henry. We all called him Bill. Henry Walker and Mike Beasley. Everyone talks to me about that. Well, those guys were with me for 1 year and left. Unbelievable dudes left. In 5 years, we had the winningest 5-year window in the history of K-State, okay, which pretty darn good basketball school. Well, in those 5 years, you know, the guys that helped me, there are a whole bunch of them, the guys that helped me win all those games, 2 transfers, Denny Clemente, Curtis Kelly, all right? And then, obviously, Jacob Pullen was one of the 4-year guys that everyone in the country got to know. But, so I believe in transfers. I'm not anti-transfer. I just don't know if taking 6, 7 transfers in one class is the way to go. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I got the right answer. I still believe, like we got 2 transfers, Josh Cohen and Daniel Sanford. I'm over the top excited with those guys. Those guys are going to add a lot of the stuff that we need here. And assuming they do things the right way, they're prepared to help us. You know,
let's talk about them. I'm looking at your schedule now. You guys have mandatory breakfast every day, 7:30. What's on the breakfast menu?
Yeah, we summer one, we went over to Burke, one of our eating establishments on campus.
Fine establishment.
Yeah, I know people repeat this a lot, but I'm going to repeat it. I don't think we've ever said it. I've said it on our show here. It's 6 years in a row, #1 campus food in the country on college campuses. And, you know, unbelievable food, but we go in there. We rotate it as far as the adults in the office. So it's not the same coach in there every single day. And we just, you know, we give the players about a 45-minute to an hour window. Just pop in there. We won't be in this back table and get some food and let's catch up. You know, you small talk with players, player to player, player to coach. You know, gives us a chance to say stories and let players understand. Does anyone ever walk away from a meal in a bad mood? Okay,
bad meal, yeah.
Well, but not
here, of course.
I'm talking about the company.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You ever bring somebody over and you sit down and you have a meal with them, you might sit there and say, my God, this food stinks. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to get up and say, man, I learned something from that guy.
Yeah.
You know, or you walk away, say, man, that's a good dude, you know? And so we create that environment. And here's the other challenge. Young guys, they rather sleep than eat. When you're an athlete and the demands that are going to be placed on your mind and body is what it is in college, you got to learn. You got to teach them, force them. Some guys don't want to eat.
I know.
Tired.
Yeah.
You got to force them to eat. So it's all part of the nutrition plan.
Yeah, and I know that's an emphasis that UMass has leaned into last 5-10 years, is trying to not only you've got the great food, but that nutrition plan and practice, and how do you implement it? Because it is also different for everybody. It's just similar to, you know, a weight building program or a strength program. You know, people react different ways. And so, you know, how are the resources at UMass to be able to kind of foster that nutrition for your student athletes?
Yeah, I mean, going back, we've got, I think it's 6 or 7 unbelievable eating establishments on campus. There's food available to our players up until midnight all over campus. The food, it's not watered down macaroni and cheese like on most food lines. It's like real food. It's like
Substance.
You know the deal, but folks probably don't know this. The community next to Amherst is Hadley, largest farming community in the state. All the vegetables and everything we get at our eating establishments come straight farm to table. you get everything from sushi to Mediterranean food to burgers to pastas. You name it. It's like incredible food. I need to stay out of there. Like, holy cow, I'll be 450 pounds if I keep hosting recruits in there. But the challenges are building. Our athletic fields on our campus are not in the middle of campus. They're kind of over the what would this be? The west side? Yeah, it's the west side of campus.
Yeah.
How about that? I already figured that one out. But our athletic facility in this beautiful Champion Center that John Kennedy built for us is on the west part of campus. So once the players get into our facility, they start training. They got meetings. They got practice. They got the training room. That whatever it may be, it's hard to go back on campus to eat lunch. So what we've done, and campus has been unbelievable in helping us, is now we cater lunch into the building. Mm-hmm. So we're getting like unbelievable food cater into the building for lunch, or our guys get in here, they eat here. So now we make sure they have a good breakfast because we're with them. They have a really good lunch. And then dinner, they're kind of on their own, but at least they ate the food that gets them through the day.
And you maximize their time. As we record this on July 11th, you've got listed. I'm just giving away the secrets on this schedule, by the way, courtesy of Jake Hayden. So we can talk about him in a second, but he's the new Dobo here. Practice number 1 at 3:00 this afternoon. What's going to happen there?
Just a lot of getting to know each other. We've been having workouts, so we have a feel for one another. Have you ever heard of a coach that they dismiss him because his team did not perform the right way in a foreign tour? Have you ever heard of that one?
Like during a practice?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Have they ever dismissed a coach because the team went on a foreign tour and didn't play?
No.
I don't know what.
I don't think so.
Or, I don't think that one exists. Have you ever heard of a player? Well, he lost his draft status because, or didn't become an all-league player because in an exhibition game on July 31 against Team Lithuania, he scored 6 points.
Are you leaning into we're talking about practice model, but yeah, what you're saying is no, it's not a life or death situation, right?
Yeah. So it's now I have a passion for teaching. And the players already know that because we're on the court. Like, I'm more involved in summer workouts now than I used to be. That's where this whole shift, has from the transfers. And, we all have a bunch of brand new players every year. So the summer, the keepers of the culture, which are your returning players, you don't have as many of them. And so as a head coach, you have to be more involved in the summer from on-court teaching because these new players have to understand the non-negotiables a lot sooner from the coach than we used to have to do it. But as soon as you put me on the court in the teaching environment, I get excited. And so putting a practice plan together is going to be exciting. We're going to try some things here in the summer and things that I know me as a coach. Everyone thinks that we just every year we reinvent who we are. Man, we're human beings. When you put me in the middle of a fire, I'm going to run my team. I'm going to adapt some things based on our personnel, but the basic, it's going to be hard to see my team in a zone when we have to get a defensive stop. It's just not who I am. Now, in the summer, I'm going to try it. We're going to use some zone. We're going to teach a different brand of man-to-man this summer to see. I'm always looking for a changeup. You're a baseball guy. Well, if I throw 99, second time around the lineup,
give me the off speed. Yeah,
I'm in trouble.
And so you're constantly evolving is what it is, right? In terms of, okay.
Well, I'm not very good. I learned this as a young teacher. If I teach what I don't know how to teach because you do it, the players right away find out I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And as soon as a player feels that I have doubt in what I'm teaching, it's over. You don't get to re-earn that trust. It's over. So I'm very careful when the lights are on that what we're teaching is something that if you ask me, Frank, how you covering that side ball screen? I give you a definitive, clear answer.
Yeah.
And if I'm not prepared to give you that answer, I shouldn't be teaching that style. And so I'm evolving because I'm trying to grow, and I'm always trying to find that change up. You know, it's Roger Clemens, what they call it, a hard sinker.
Splitter. He ended up with his career, a splitter was what he was throwing at the end. Yeah.
That's what he threw. But, you know, what got him there was that high 96, 7-mile-per-hour fastball. But eventually, you know, he needed that other pitch, and I'm always trying to find that second pitch.
What do you tell? So you're going into this first practice, you know, what type of stylistic team do you want to be? What do you tell them about, you know, how we're going to play defensively and offensively? What are some of those overarching themes?
Yeah, what this moment allows us to do is some of the non-negotiables that I want our program to be about, and we try to recruit players that are about the same things, is our relentless mindset, offensively and defensively, our enthusiasm and passion for how we approach every play, not just some games, every game and every play. That unity, that family vibe, whether you make a mistake or you don't, whether you get reprimanded or celebrated, it's all irrelevant. We got another play to play. We got another day to coexist and grow from each other. It's a matter of starting to spread some of that, because we got a lot of, I really like the personalities on our team, but everyone's comfortable right now because there's no referees, there's no playing time, there's no judging on who's good, who's bad. We've got guys that have had bad days, but their feelings aren't hurt. You know why they're not hurt? Because there's no one on social media criticizing them.
Right.
Because no one knows. And, you know, but this is a moment. Hey, I'm a big believer that you utilize the summer and the preseason to create trust. So then during the season, because all those things I just mentioned, those are the storms. If you don't have a foundation in your relationship, those storms make you fall apart. When you have a foundation, those storms is what holds you together. Those foundations is what holds your relationships with the players together, amongst each other and amongst the coaches and vice versa. So I'm in a place of peace with my staff. Why? Because they've all been with me through storms for a long, long time. And I've got players like Matt Cross, Keon Thompson, Rasul Diggins that are coming back.
Yep.
Sometimes it wasn't pretty. You know, let's talk about Matt Cross a little bit.
Okay.
You brought up players in the summer. Matt was having an all-league kind of season. I mean, our team was not like we had ups and downs, but our team was pretty good until Matt went down with that pneumonia health situation where he ended up going in the hospital.
Yeah, he lost like 20 pounds, if I remember.
20 pounds. And then he comes back, and you know, after being in the hospital and being held out after getting out of the hospital, he comes back and he tried to play, and he was okay. Didn't play as well as he was before, but then hurts his knee.
Right.
And so everyone gets a glimpse, and I get it. So do I. I go home. The last game we played, we're no good. Matt didn't play well. We didn't play well. But we lost sight of Matt's growth as a player.
Yep.
And the fact that he was played like an all Atlantic 10 player when he went down with pneumonia in the middle of conference play. I want Matt to utilize this summer to take another step forward as a player so he can go into next year. You can't control the pneumonias and the knee injuries and all that stuff, but it's given him another year with Tony, who we just had on the podcast, to continue to build his body. He understands me a heck of a lot better now, and I understand him a heck of a lot better now. Matt fights for the things I'm selling, and Matt is a heck of a teammate. So I want him to grow. As he goes into his fourth year of college, I want him to grow in confidence, grow as a player, and continue to grow as a human being. But I'm excited to see Matt, you know, see it, because he wants to lead. He's got to learn how to lead. And I'm dying for him to take that baton now that he's at peace with everything around here, take that baton and start to grow as a leader.
There was that stretch, I'm going to have to look it up now exactly what the dates were, where he put up over 30 in one game, and it just felt like every night it was 20 points, 8 to 10 rebounds, and then not only that, but his toughness, which when you see him out on the court just fighting in the paint, I mean, I don't think there's someone that had his skill set within the A10 the way that he had that tenacity.
I've always struggled with saying that so-and-so's better than everybody else. It's not my thing. I respect competitors too much, but Matt doesn't take a back seat to anybody in the league. Matt's as good a player as we've got coming back in this league. He came back from the knee injury after being out because of the pneumonia, and Bonnie's St. Bonaventure, they're a pretty good team.
Yep.
And, they beat us pretty good. Well, Matt went out and played against St. Bonnie's. He wasn't fully healthy yet, but he played and helped us win that last home game. And he didn't play great statistically. See, we live in a world now where everyone watches highlights and reads stats. And we assume the guy that has nice highlights, those 3 or 4 wow plays, and then you look at his stats and he's got 16.7 rebounds, that's the guy that played good. Matt didn't have great stats in that game, but he gave us the courage and the toughness to go win that game.
Yeah, he had 5 points in 20 minutes. Yeah. But, Coach, that was the first time, I don't know if you know this or not, that UMass had beaten St. Bonaventure, and I think it was 9 or 10 tries. I've been that long.
Yeah, I'm. Jay, here's the uncomfortable thing for people who've been a part of UMass for a while. I look at the success it's had and how good the success has been, and my challenge is to grow it to those levels again.
Yep.
I can care less about the losing that took place. I don't look backwards. I peak for my self confidence and direction, so I can stay humble, because I think it's so important that we peak backwards to keep us in a good spot. But I'm into going forward. I that's unbelievable. I had no idea. But Matt, if you look at his stats, if you didn't watch the game, he didn't have any wow highlights. If you look at his stats, you're like, 5 point. Yeah. But without him, we don't win that game. And he gave us the courage to go win that game.
All right. So let me ask you about one more player. We'll sprinkle some of these, player overviews throughout the course of the summer. You mentioned Keon Thompson earlier, and this is a guy in his freshman year was challenged to lead the offense for, I would say, most of the season, running point for your team.
Yep.
What is was your diagnosis of how he performed in that tough role, and what does it look like for him entering his second year at UMass?
Let's use a couple of analogies here before we go into his future. So, let's use the Red Sox, since you
always go baseball with me. I do understand more, but yes,
we can use football too. Okay. So, the Patriots had the winningest. Let's go football today rather than baseball. Don Brown's right around the corner. Come on, baby, let's go. Smash.
Week 0.
Oh, here we go. Which, by the way, Don and his staff, we're all friends and friends from before my time at UMass.
Yep.
Duke and Don and Stevie Terrell and those guys, the work that they're doing is incredible. I know people don't see the daily work. I do. It's incredible. But, you remember when Tom Brady hurt his knee?
Sure.
Okay. So the Patriots had an established winning pedigree.
Yep.
Established coach, established winning. Who was Tom Brady's backup that year?
Matt Castle that year, and he still won like 9 games, I think.
Okay, so now here's where the curveball comes. Can you imagine if Matt Castle had gotten hurt 5 games into the year? Who was the third quarterback on that team?
Bishop. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. Yeah.
It's safe to say that guy's probably not in the NFL. Didn't probably never played much in the NFL after that season if Matt Castle had gotten hurt.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have that established winning mindset in place. Everybody was trying to figure it out. And we lose our point guard, which is our quarterback. And then as soon as our point guard goes down, his backup, Russell Diggins, he goes down.
Yeah. He had that ankle injury or something.
Yeah, which he dealt with he sprained it 3 times in 1 month. And he tried to play through the first 2. When he turned it the third time, it was over.
And the birth of his first child, too, if I remember.
And the birth of his first child. So bang, bang. So now here's key. Didn't play a lot of point. People think point guards in high school is the best athlete who you give the ball to and you say, hey, we need a basket. Go get a basket. That's not being a point guard. That's just being the best athlete in a game. Okay? There's a difference. Let's go back to football again. Lamar Jackson's a Miami guy. I saw Lamar play high school football. Yeah, he could throw, but his damage was running. Well, as he's grown as a player, he's had to learn how to play quarterback, not run. Now, he can still run with the best of them, but to continue to succeed, he's had to learn how to be in the pocket and read and make decisions and all that other stuff that comes. Well, he all of a sudden went from playing, 5-6 minutes a game and doing an unbelievable job because he didn't have the winning and losing was not on his shoulders. It was on the other guys' shoulders. Well, in a matter of 2 weeks, he went from being a great complimentary player to a team that was doing pretty good. Yeah. All of a sudden, being the guy that bared the responsibility of running a team, which is the guy who absorbs the responsibility of winning and losing. Kelvin Sampson has one of the greatest lines I've ever heard. He said, there's 2 people that can never have a bad day, the head coach and the point guard. It's so true. I can't have a bad day. If I have a bad day, everyone's got to pick me up, but chances are that day's not going to be as good as it needs to be. And if your point guard has a bad day, your team's not going to play well. It's just, but that's what he dealt with. And he had good moments. I mean, I don't know if you remember that game against Hofstra, which, by the way, was a pretty good team.
Yeah.
His second half was unbelievably good, but then he had other moments where, he just didn't play well. He's dealing against some really good players in a hard conference. He's dealing with league teams that now got film on him and know how to prepare. We got unbelievable coaches in this league, and they make you play through your weaknesses. And when you have to play through your weakness, you got to utilize the moment of the game to figure out how to attack things differently so you can get back to your strength. That's not easy to do when you're a true freshman, especially a point guard. But he's growing a lot. You pop your head in here when we're having summer workouts.
He's always here.
Even his personality, he was very quiet and very reserved with even showing you his smile. Now he's out there cracking jokes and it's that's it. Rewind. You remember the first question you asked me today, the freshman model?
Yes.
That's why I enjoy coaching, because I'm starting to see somebody grow and be more comfortable with who he is. And when people are comfortable with who they are, they'll allow you to see who they are, and then they're willing to share who they are so they can help you too. And that's what he's doing for me right now.
Coach, we're going to leave it there. I know you got a busy day. We'll talk about Mr. Hayden next week, who you just brought on as the Director of Basketball Operations, which is a very intense role, does a lot for you guys. So we'll kind of tease that for next week. Thank you so much for taking the time. You want to say one last thing?
Can I do something real quick?
You sure can.
Look at these shirts.
Well, where do I get one?
You get ready to get one. I'm going to do a little plug here. I guess it's our show, so I can do it.
Yeah, plug it.
Anybody? My son Brandon has started his little line of clothing, and he's got all kinds of UMass stuff. Pat McWilliams and the TBT with Mike Mannix, they're coming here next week. We're providing all those guys with some of Brandon's gear that he put together. And, he's got a website and all that stuff. So
what's the site? Do you know?
You got me on that. It's let's talk about it next week.
Okay. All right. We'll do a little digging. Show us.
That's embarrassing. I don't even know you don't site. I'd like,
there's a lot of websites out there. What's it say again? Dedicated to the grind.
Dedicated to the grind. He's got 4 or 5 different shirts that he's made, and we're taking care of Pat and the TBT guys, so they have some UMass gear. And by the way, like some of those guys, they haven't been back to campus since they were done playing. They're so excited, and Pat, for him to bring them back, and they're going to practice here, and they're going to just be around our guys.
Amazing.
What an awesome thing.
Yeah, and so we'll dive into that more next week when those guys will be here. Good luck with practice number 1 today, Coach, and we'll talk to you next week. All right.
Man, you're looking younger every week. This show's doing.
Thanks. I'm Jay Burnham. He is Just Being Frank. We'll see you next time.